Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude. Sorry for the gravelly voice, but I'm still letting the flu beat me up a little bit here. So today we're going to talk about what these birds are and what we think they are, okay? They're not exactly what we humans think, so...
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a non-profit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Now, you'll hear a lot of people, especially on the internet, you'll hear them talking about FIDS. They're called their birds FIDS, which is shorthand for feathered kids. In no way, shape, or form are these birds kids. They're not mammals, they aren't human, and they shouldn't be anthropomorphized. What do I mean? I mean, don't make them into something they're not. It's something that humans do, okay? What we do is we try to make things into something like us. If you look at kids will often look at inanimate objects. They'll have a little rabbit as a stuffed toy. Whoa, there goes a bird. They'll have a rabbit as a stuffed toy, and they will treat it like it's alive. They will treat it like it thinks, like it is like them, okay? That's what we humans do, but that's not the way the world really is, okay? Now, as someone who has taken the pro-truth pledge, which you can do online, that means I'm not going to talk about things that aren't real. I'm going to try to stick to what we know, all right? Now, first of all, I'm not a duelist. And what does that mean? Most people, at least in the United States, are duelists. They believe that there's a difference between the body and the mind, okay? There's no evidence for that, none whatsoever. For example, if I was talking to you and I picked up a hammer and I whacked you in the side of the head hard enough to damage your brain, your personality is going to change. Now, you're not going to be the same person. Or, if a surgeon separates the right and left hemispheres of the brain, if they separate the hemispheres by severing the corpus callosum, which is the interlocking feature between the right and left hemisphere, did you know that you'll end up with two personalities? That's right. The right and left brain will no longer have the same personalities. And it's pretty striking if you look at the evidence, what happens. So, what? Does that mean all of a sudden you have two souls? No, it means you don't have a soul. We are physical beings, okay? Now, this matters. And why does it matter? Why does it matter that we are physical beings? Well, I've often had people tell me that, well, I don't want to put my birds on drugs, and yeah, they pick their feathers, but and they sometimes cut themselves, but I don't want to affect their mind. The mind and body are one thing, okay? We're all interconnected that way. And what that means is that when you're treating the body, you're also treating the mind. So giving them a drug to keep them from hurting themselves makes perfect sense. You wouldn't stop your bird from getting medical help if it had a broken leg. You wouldn't stop it from getting painkillers. And when you think that the body and mind are different, that's dualism, okay? That's something that humans have developed over time. It happened when we had that sudden change in our brains that made it seem as if the world is something that we really perceive. We think we really perceive the world. But now, for example, if you look at Pippa here, okay, you say there's a white bird with yellow feathers, you know, with feathers that turn yellow at the end of her crown. That's what you see, but that's not what it is. That's not the color that Pippa's feathers are. That's the reflection of light off the feathers. That is not the color that they actually are. Okay, so you're seeing reflected light, but most people just assume that's the actual color. It's not, okay? It's not. And the human mind makes a story, okay? It builds what it sees, what it hears, all the sensations into a story that helps us to survive in the world. That's the point of it. It doesn't build a world that's true. It builds a world that makes it survivable, okay? So we don't see reality. We don't see reality as what it is. We see reality in such a way that we can survive, okay? This is evolution. Now, evolution is a fact, okay? And some people don't understand what the word theory means. In scientific terms, theory means a description of the way reality works, okay? So, like the theory of gravity. Now, you can go test it. If you don't believe in the theory of gravity, you can go to a building that's, 20 stories high and take a leap off the side. I don't suggest you do that. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you that's what a theory is. It describes how certain features of the universe work, okay? And evolution is a fact. If you don't think so, you need to do some more research. You can look into Richard Dawkins' book. But we're still apes. We share almost all of our DNA with the other apes, the chimpanzees and the gorillas, and it's sad that people tend to think that somehow we're so different when we're not. So the point I'm getting to here is that in order to help these guys, you have to treat them as what they are, and that means you have to do a little learning. You can't just assume that they are like us, because they're not. Now, perceptually, they see much better than we do. You couldn't lie to them because they can actually see the thermal signature of your skin. If we could see the thermal signature of others' skin, human beings wouldn't be able to lie. Because when you lie, it makes certain changes, certain physiological changes to your skin that can be actually viewed by someone with eyes like these, okay? It's a different line of evolution. They don't have our emotions. I'm certain. I'm as certain as you can be. On a scale of 7, it's a 6.9, okay? They have emotions, but they don't have emotions like us, okay? They don't hate. So when you say, oh, my bird's mad at me. No, that's not true. You're anthropomorphizing. You're trying to make that bird to be like you. And let's face it, they're not, okay? If you were like your bird, it would take you about 2 seconds to go to the bathroom, all right? And I know, and you know, that human beings and other mammals take a long time. You take a dog outside, what does it do? It goes around and around in circles, trying to figure out where it's going to go, and it relates mostly to smell, okay? It's looking for the right place that smells just right to go to the bathroom. Well, unfortunately, mammals have this stink feature, okay? And they do tend to smell, where if you're looking at parrots, they don't really smell, and they don't focus. They don't focus on the sense of smell. They're oriented more towards sight. They look to see where feather position is. They interpret things visually, okay? human beings tend to fabricate things. We make the world into what we want it to be. They tend to see reality, from the best we can tell scientifically, they tend to see it more as what it actually is. But no matter what you have to say about that, they don't see it like we do, okay? They don't see reality the same way humans do. And all of this is important because if you think they're like us, you're going to make mistakes, and those mistakes can hurt them. If you think that they just enjoy sitting on a perch and staring around the room all the time, you're going to hurt them. They need to have activity. They need to have flight if possible. They're not going to get exercise unless they can fly. There's a lot of things they need, they'll never have, if you're going to think they're like you are. Because they aren't, okay? So I suggest you take the Truth Pledge and start looking into what these birds really are, okay? Not what you think they are, but what they actually are. And I'll mention those two books that I'm sure very few people have actually gone out and purchased. One is the Manual of Parrot Behavior by Lusher, and the other one would be the Basava Manual for Citizen Birds. One is mostly about physiology, and the other one is pretty comprehensive. Neither one is cheap. You're not going to get these books cheaply. But if you really want to understand these birds, you need to make some changes in the way you look at the world. I also suggest, that there's a video I've recommended so many times. It's called Whodunit. It's a 2-minute video, and you're supposed to figure out who murdered a person in the video, okay? If you watch that video and you don't realize that you're not seeing the world the way it really is, that you're missing most of it, then maybe you've already been hit with a hammer. Because I haven't met anyone who's watched that video yet who has been able to say that they view the world as it is. Okay? So we'll get back into some of this later, but I wanted to get the idea out to you guys that we need to actually look at them for what they are, not go around saying, oh, Ralph is just upset with me right now. Oh, Bob is mad right now. Oh, Pippa is sad. They have emotions. I'm pretty sure they do. I'm fairly sure. I'd say almost absolutely, but I don't really believe anything absolutely. But they don't have human emotions. And don't try to turn them into humans. Unless you want to go back to being a kid again and treat them like the little toy stuffed animal you used to carry around with you. And I know that's not what you want to do. You really want to understand these guys. But you think that just because you've lived with them for some time that you understand them. And you don't. I have worked hard to understand them. But I got to tell you, I don't. I mean, I understand them better than most, I think. Most people would have trouble even getting into the aviary and hanging out with these guys, but there's so much more I need to know, and I'll never fully understand them. But I hope that someday they'll be left alone in the wild, and no one will have these guys in their homes. But for now, they're there, and we have to do what we can to try to get people to care for them properly. And you're not going to care for them properly if you think you already know something. The most ignorant people in the world are those who already think they know something. And I'm learning all the time. So I hope you'll try to learn too and take the Truth Pledge and do everything you can to try to understand these guys. Okay? Not assume so much. Okay? Yeah. And people have heard her crying before. They've heard her making that sound. Well, what you think of as crying actually isn't crying at all. It's the sound that people reacted to that got her what she wanted, okay? So when she makes that sound, people listen. That's why she makes it. It's not a sound of a crying baby. Yeah, it is, because that's probably where she got it. But it doesn't mean she's sad. It means she wants something, okay? She's trying to get what she wants, and she's gotten it with that sound before. So please, please, I urge you to support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com, patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary. Help us with our videos, or go to our website and make a one-time donation at chloesanctuary.org. And I thank everyone who does support us now, all of our Patreon folks who are supporting us. And sorry, it's been kind of a long time since I've done a video. It's been about a week and a half, but I don't have much of a voice, and it's hard to do, okay? But we got some good things coming next month. We have a video that's going to go in depth, and it's going to cover a lot of stuff about how to train your birds and how to live with them. The first thing you need to do, though, is to actually stop thinking you know, because you can't learn if you think you already know it. So thanks again for all your support, and we'll talk to you next time.